Ola, you've had a bird's eye view before pandemic and through pandemic. How have you seen companies planning their journeys and why?
And that's an interesting question, because as we're realizing the result of these two major events, so the planning and to the priorities and what we're going to do next, and it's how also our readiness impacted our ability to recover from a major external or internal event, not necessarily a cyber event. It can be just a business continuity, or all of a sudden a part doesn't show up in my manufacturing supply chain. What do I do? How do I address that? Or a third party closes down and I need to find a separate supplier or additional supplier. How do I manage those? And what we found out, also based upon the surveys and the research that was done recently, that there is an order of priorities, how you construct and plan your digital journey. And it does start with cost. I have to be careful with that, and I will explain what that really means. But let's just lay out the foundation, which is the starting with the cost, and it's called cost-minded operations, cost-first operations. Then we go into the growth goals, and the last is the experience. Now, it's slightly countering what I just said before, right? We said we have to start with customer experience. It's not actually the opposite, because when you start with the customer experience, the first thing that comes to mind for the digital transformation perspective is still the cost. And I will explain in more details what do I mean by that. At the end of the day, you do create the experience, but if you don't start with the cost first mindset, then the other two targets will not be achieved as efficiently as they could have if you start first measuring the cost.
Right.
And the Gartner states that post-pandemic, more than 62% of the enterprises are adopting this cost-first mindset. So that's telling, right?
It's telling, yeah.
So just let's look, as I said before, let's take a closer look in those aspects of cost mindset, because we need to really clarify, because the cost term comes with this cost cutting, which is actually decreases the efficiency if it's not done right, because you cannot just cut costs without any data or any planning associated with it. So let's look at the few aspects of that. Asset efficiency. So if we are improving the way our equipment works, whether it's computers, whether it's the machines, manufacturing, whether there's any additional assets, even real estate, the way we manage that and the way we assure the continuity, as well as how efficiently we optimize the costs of doing the business, we are going to impact the foundational parts of our transformation journey. Workforce productivity is the other aspect, I would say even more important than asset efficiencies. It kind of goes together, because if our workforce is not productive because the assets are not productive or efficient, then it's not going to allow us to streamline all our tasks and do it at the best of our abilities. So the bureaucracy and the processes are not impairing our ability to execute. Okay.
True.
And then this is the third aspect of really how much it costs us to do a sale, how much it costs to manufacture something, what is the labor cost associated with it. Again, you can make the best experience to the customer in the world, but if it's going to cost you to sell $10 and it costs you $100 to sell, then you're actually going to be losing money. So with all the improvement in the customer experience, you have to make sure that you're making it cost effective. Otherwise, your business is not going to survive. And by the way, the pandemic emphasized it. I will give an example of a restaurant, which is maybe not necessarily the first thing that comes to mind, but all the restaurants that were able to change from sitting face-to-face interaction with the customers to take out, or some of like a pop-up store, something that produces less interaction, allows them to differently plan their supply chain, the meetings with the customer, how they plan the scheduling, who comes when, do you need to have more staff, where do you have to need more staff, how you all interacting with your suppliers, with your third party, with your customers. Any restaurant that was able to introduce agility into the pandemic, they thrived, survived, and even gained more market share. And that goes back to how cost efficiently I manage my business when it comes to sales and marketing. Okay, alongside with all the operational manufacturing costs and obviously services costs to kind of summarize all this cost. I would say iceberg, if you look at it, right? It's very few things on top, but there are a lot of things come on the bottom. So the analysis has to be made before we go into that transformation journey to clearly understand where their costs are coming from and how we're going to make them more efficient before we think about growth and before we think about the experience. Very, very important.